You think a hug is just a small moment, a throwaway gesture, something casual that either works or doesn't. But the truth is, the way you hug a woman exposes everything about you before your mouth ever gets a second chance. If you need reminders like that, truth that clears the fog instead of feeding your fantasies, subscribe now because most men are not confused from lack of information. They're confused because nobody forces them to face what their behavior is really saying. You do not need more cute advice. You need sharper awareness. You need truth repeated until it replaces your bad habits. Here's what it really means when people say a hug can make a woman want you more. It does not mean using touch like a trick. It does not mean forcing chemistry that is not there. It does not mean acting smooth while your energy is desperate. It means that when attraction already has room to breathe, the hug becomes a reveal, a test, a signal. It shows whether you are grounded or needy, present or performative, safe or hungry. That is the thesis. The hug does not create your character, it exposes it. Most men get this wrong because they think the goal is to impress through contact. They think if they hold tighter, linger longer, pull harder, or act more confident than they really feel, she will experience that as masculine. No, she experiences your nervous system. She experiences your intention. She experiences whether you are there with self command or they're trying to steal certainty from the moment. That's the hard truth. A hug is not just physical, it is emotional information. And when you don't understand that, you turn something simple into something heavy. You make the moment work too hard. You turn a hug into an audition. You turn closeness into pressure. You turn warmth into a silent request for validation. That is where attraction dies, not in the hug itself, in the energy behind it. Why does this happen? Because most men are not trying to connect. They are trying to be reassured. Big difference. They are not asking, how do I show up clearly, calmly, and respectfully? They are asking, how do I make sure she feels something so I can stop doubting myself? That's the real problem. You are not using the moment to express grounded interest. You are using it to relieve your insecurity. That's called emotional borrowing. And women feel it fast. You can fake lines, you can fake style, you can fake social confidence for a few minutes, but touch strips the act down. If your body is rushed, she feels rushed. If your attention is hungry, she feels hunted. If your contact is vague, limp, or uncertain, she feels your hesitation. If your hold says, please like me, she feels the weakness before she can explain it in words. That is why small moments matter. They expose what your mouth tries to hide. So let's clean this up. Not so you can manipulate anyone. Not so you can make her want you through tactics. That weak mindset needs to die. You do this to become a man whose presence is coherent, a man whose actions match his self-respect, a man who knows how to bring calm instead of confusion. When that happens, attraction has a chance to deepen naturally, not because you forced it, because you stopped sabotaging it. There are four things you need to do when you hug a woman if you want that moment to create more pull instead of more discomfort. And none of them are about games. They are about command over yourself. The first thing is this: arrive before you touch her. Slow down. Really slow down. Most men move into contact with chaotic energy. Too fast, too eager, too uncertain. Their body gets there before their presence does. That is why the hug feels awkward, mechanical, or strangely empty. You are touching, but you are not actually there. So before your arms ever close, settle your breathing, relax your shoulders. Be where your feet are. Look at her, not in a creepy performative way, in a clear way, in a way that says you are conscious, not impulsive. That's called presence. Presence is attractive because it creates psychological steadiness. She does not feel grabbed by your anxiety. She feels met by your calm. And that difference changes everything. A rushed man communicates hunger. A present man communicates choice. One says, I need this moment to go well. The other says, I am here and I can hold a moment without panicking. Women feel that contrast instantly. The second thing is this: hold her with warmth, not need. This is where a lot of men expose themselves. They think intensity equals masculine energy. So they grip too hard, linger too strangely, or pour too much weight into the moment because they think stronger contact means stronger attraction. Wrong. Neediness always leaks through force. A strong hug is not a desperate hug. A masculine hug is not a consuming hug. It is clean. It is calm. It is grounded. It says, I'm comfortable with closeness, not I'm starving for it. Do you understand the difference? One is connection, the other is extraction. One gives warmth, the other takes reassurance. One feels safe, the other feels loaded. That's called containment, and containment is one of the most underrated forms of masculine power. It means you can feel desire without spilling it everywhere. You can feel interest without becoming sloppy. You can hold closeness without turning it into a demand. That is what women respond to, not because they want coldness, because they want congruence. If your words say one thing and your body screams another, trust is weakened. If your body says, I have no center, the moment collapses. But when your contact is steady, respectful, and unforced, she feels that you know how to carry yourself. That is a different kind of attraction. Deeper, cleaner, more difficult to fake. The third thing is this: read her response and respect it immediately. This is where real self-respect separates itself from performance. Weak men think persistence is power. It is not. Strong men calibrate. They pay attention. They notice whether she leans in or stiffens, whether she melts into the moment or gives a polite, distant version of contact, whether the energy is mutual or merely tolerated. That's called calibration. And if you ignore those signals because you want your fantasy more than the truth, you lose. Not just with her, with yourself. Because every time you override reality for the sake of ego, you train yourself to be delusional. You stop reading what is there and start clinging to what you wish were there. That is dangerous. In dating, in relationships, in life. So pay attention. If she is open, relaxed, responsive, good, meet her there. Not with greed, with steadiness. If she is reserved, hesitant, or clearly giving you a social hug and nothing more, respect it instantly. Do not squeeze harder. Do not linger to change the vibe. Do not force chemistry through contact. That is low-level desperation disguised as confidence, and it destroys trust. The disciplined man does not need to push. He would rather be aligned with reality than inflated by illusion. This matters more than you think, because what a woman often remembers is not just the hug. It is whether she felt understood by your behavior, whether you were attuned, whether you were safe without being weak, whether you were interested without being invasive, whether your restraint proved you had standards, not just urges. Restraint is not passivity. Restraint is controlled power. That's called maturity. The fourth thing is this: release cleanly and remain the same man afterward. This is where men ruin what could have been good. They survive the moment, then immediately start searching her face for proof. They look for signs. They get weird. They overtalk. They fill the air because silence suddenly feels dangerous. You know what that reveals? That the hug was not an expression. It was a test you hoped to pass. That is weak energy. A powerful man does not become emotionally disorganized after contact. He does not act like one small moment determines his worth. He hugs, releases, and stays composed. He does not cling. He does not mentally chase. He does not ask the moment to crown him. That's called self-possession. And that is rare now. Rare enough that it stands out fast. In a culture full of men who either shrink from physical confidence or lunge at it with overeager hands, the man who can create warmth without pressure immediately separates himself. Not because he is doing magic, because he is not leaking insecurity. Picture the man who gets this right, not a player, not a manipulator. Not some cartoon version of masculinity. A real man, grounded, clean in his energy. He hugs a woman the way he lives, calmly, deliberately, with self-respect. He is not asking the moment to save him from loneliness. He is not trying to steal intimacy from a gesture. He is simply present. His body is relaxed. His breathing is steady. His attention is not scattered. He knows how to be close without becoming careless. He knows how to be warm without becoming weak. He knows how to desire without becoming invasive. That man does not need to create artificial tension. His clarity is the tension. And women feel that, not because they are decoding some technique list in their head, because their nervous system picks it up. They feel the difference between a man who wants contact to calm himself down and a man who is already calm enough to make contact feel natural. One feels like pressure, the other feels like relief. One makes her guard go up, the other makes her curious. One says, "Please confirm me." The other says, "I know how to hold myself." That second man is the one people remember. Now let's go even deeper, because this is not really about hugging. It is about how you carry your masculine energy in close moments. A hug is just one window into the larger issue. Do you rush to fill space? Do you overreach when you feel uncertainty? Do you lean into touch because you cannot tolerate ambiguity? Do you turn every sign of openness into permission to abandon calibration? If so, the hug is just the symptom. The root is undisciplined need. That need costs you more than attraction. It costs you discernment. You stop seeing the woman clearly. You start seeing your hopes. You stop behaving from standards. You start behaving from appetite. You stop moving with dignity. You start moving with urgency. And urgency is one of the fastest ways to drain your edge. You laugh too quickly. You escalate too fast. You cling too long. You explain too much. You search too hard for signs that she likes you. That's called self-abandonment. So reframe the entire moment. The goal is not to make a woman want you more through a hug. The goal is to become the kind of man whose smallest gestures carry weight because they come from inner order. That is the frame. Not performance, not manipulation, order, presence, congruence. If mutual attraction is there, those qualities amplify it. If it is not there, those qualities protect your dignity. Either way, you win. So when the moment comes, do this. Arrive first, slow your breath, drop your shoulders, stop fidgeting. Then make contact with calm energy, not hungry energy. Let the hug be real, not theatrical. Then read her response like a man who respects reality. If she is open, be warm. If she is reserved, honor it instantly. Then release cleanly. Do not search for approval. Do not hover. Do not turn one gesture into a courtroom for your self-worth. Redirect your attention back into composure, back into the conversation, back into your center. And stop doing the opposite. Stop squeezing like force creates chemistry. Stop lingering because you are afraid the moment will end. Stop using touch to compensate for lack of presence. Stop acting like boldness means ignoring feedback. Stop trying to seem experienced if your energy is still chaotic. Stop trying to read desire where there is only politeness. Stop pushing. Stop fantasizing. Stop outsourcing your confidence to female reactions. Redirect that energy into becoming the kind of man whose baseline is attractive before any hug happens. Fix your posture, strengthen your body, slow your speech, build your routines, get your life in order, stand for something, finish what you start, keep your word, learn to sit in silence without mentally begging for reassurance, because the truth is simple. If you cannot hold yourself, you will not hold a moment well either. That is why this matters. Not because hugs are magical, because small moments reveal big truths. A man with no center cannot fake center in close proximity. A man who craves validation cannot fully hide it in touch. A man who lacks boundaries will eventually reveal that he does not read boundaries well. And a man who has done the work, real work, quiet work, identity work, will reveal that too. In his timing, in his calm, in his restraint, in his warmth, in the fact that he does not become less himself when closeness appears. That is the man women trust. That is the man women feel drawn toward, not because he cracked some code, because he stopped being careless with his energy. He stopped confusing pressure with passion. He stopped confusing force with masculinity. He stopped acting like every intimate moment was a chance to win something. He learned that the most attractive thing in the room is often the man who does not need to take more than what is freely there. So if you want that shift, start now. Not in the next hug. Now. Train your mind to value truth over fantasy. Train your body to move slower. Train your emotions to stay contained. Train your attention to read what is real. Train your standards so that you would rather lose a moment than lose your dignity. That is masculine self-respect. And once that becomes your baseline, even a simple hug stops being awkward theater and becomes what it should have been all along: clear, calm, grounded connection. You do not need more tricks, you need more command, more awareness, more patience, more respect for her signals, and more respect for your own identity. That is how you stop being another man trying too hard and become a man whose presence does half the work before contact even happens. You are not trying to manufacture desire. You are trying to remove the weak habits that keep draining it. You are not chasing a reaction. You are building a self. And that changes everything. Your touch changes. Your timing changes. Your energy changes. Your relationships change. Most of all, your relationship with yourself changes. You are not waiting for the answer. You are the answer. The calm, the standard, the restraint, the man who no longer turns every close moment into a hunger test, but into an expression of who he already is. Subscribe if you want more truth like this, truth that sharpens your instincts, cleans up your energy, and gives you something solid to stand on. Stay here if you are done with fantasy, done with neediness, and ready to move like a man who respects himself enough to respect the moment.